kind of, not direct journalism teaching, but what kind of other aspects did it kind of give you an edge?
I'm not quite sure that I got you right. Excuse my English.
You have great
some
English.
phrases.
Excuse us, we can't speak any kind of a Middle Eastern language
No,
at
I'm
all.
sorry, but there are some of the phrases that are difficult for me.
Hey, can you
So,
reword it and simplify it a little bit?
Rephrase it in simpler words, please.
So growing up, like, in Iraq,
Mhm.
how did that help you later to become a journalist? Did it teach you anything or give you any kind of special knowledge?
I don't know if it's growing in Iraq or is it being an artist what helped me. As I told you, it's what makes a good journalist is curiosity. You want to know about what's going on and why it happened, when it happened, where it happened, who did it, things like this, details. And some people would believe anything they hear, and some others would say, no, I have to check it out. It's not only a phrase that I read in a newspaper that I should believe. I should check if it's true or not. And this is what makes the difference between a journalist and an average person. Maybe because I used to be an artist, this also built some kind of curiosity inside, and what helped me in being in working as a journalist. I don't know if I'm a good one, but I did something. Yes.
Where do you see the future of the Iraqi-United States relationship? Do you see it as something that could be healed in the future?
Great question. Have you been ever in a horrible situation before?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about it?
I mean, it's nothing.
Not in details, but in something general, rough.
Well, I mean, I was in the hospital a few weeks ago and knows about that. But I don't know. I can't think of anything that would compare it to.
Have you seen any man get killed in front of you?
No.
Beaten?
No.
Have you been injured before?
No. Not to like a serious extent.
Anyone? Have any one of you have bad memories? That goes back to, let's say, 10 years ago, and still have it in his mind or her mind, and remember it, just like if it was yesterday. My point is that you have children now who opened their eyes and found their country under fire. Some of them lost their parents because of military combat, because of mistake killing by American forces, for example, because of sectarian violence by militias. And they were told and they were taught that this happened because of the occupation. And before 2003, nobody was thinking that, or dreaming that they would open their door, go out to the street and find dead bodies lying in the street on the tarmac. So if a 10-year-old guy, a boy, would see his parents get killed in front of him by Americans or by militias, and he would blame the Americans for it. Imagine what this boy would think 10 years from now. The problem is that there is no direct contact between people here in the States and the Iraqi people. The Iraqis are only seeing soldiers, and they know that their days before 2003 under Saddam, it's true, it was bad, but now it's worse. And they blame the occupation. So you have people comparing between before 2003 and now, and you have others who have lost someone because of the occupation. In the end, it's going to be all anti-occupation. It's going to be all anti-American because the occupation is led by the Americans. What we need to do is to tell the Iraqis that there is a difference between the American administration and the Americans. There are lots of Americans who oppose war, who doesn't want to see Iraq destroyed, who wants to go to Iraq someday as tourists and have fish on the riverbanks and sit in coffee shops, have cardamom tea, and enjoy walking in Rashid Street in central Baghdad. But can this happen now? And even if the troops are pulled out, can you feel safe going to Iraq as an American? And knowing that there are people there who hate the Americans? I've been pushing for some time right now to open a communication channel between the two people. Talk to each other. You're open-minded, and so are the Iraqis. But the Iraqis cannot see you. They're not hearing from you. There is no American in Iraq explaining to the Iraqis that there are Americans who oppose the war and who wants to live normal life away from violence. But there is an Iraqi here in the States who's trying to do this. So I think that there should be a communication established between the two people, and to try to talk to each other away from government, away from policy, away from war, just people to people.
Do you think the average Iraqis pay attention to American politics, like the election right now? Do you think they're paying attention to it because they know it's
Of course, they're part of it. Their country is invaded by the United States. In 2004, everyone was sitting in front of TV trying to follow up with the elections. They were hoping that another president than Bush would be elected, because this means that the end of the occupation. The Iraq war was a major topic in 2003. John Kerry was calling for ending the war and pulling out the troops, and everyone at that time was praying that this would happen. And in 2004, we didn't have any sectarian violence going on. It was a lot more easier than now. It didn't happen, and it was a big disappointment for the Iraqis. Now, the Iraqis are following up with the elections, knowing that both candidates are calling for ending the war. It's just a matter of when. But the main question is, what are you going to do to us before leaving? You've started something, and you should finish it. And at the same time, you have broke something, and you should fix it before going. Yes?
Growing up in Iraq and now being part of the American media, how do you think the American media has handled the coverage of the war? Do you think they've shown too much violence, or they've not shown enough coverage? How do you think they've been handling that from the start?
I remember in 2003 when I first worked with AFP. Let's say an IED explosion happened and 3 Iraqis got killed, 4 others got injured. The journalist would insist on finding out the names of the victims, to go to hospitals and talk to the injured, to visit their families and know their reaction about what happened, to find out what kind of IED was used, how big was it, who was it targeted, how it was detonated, the spots where it was hidden, all kind of details you can find. A big story. It was an explosion in Baghdad. Now a car bomb happens, 50 people get killed, 100 get injured, 10 cars were destroyed, 5 shops were destroyed also. The news would come as follows. Car bomb explosions happened at 10 a.m. this morning in central Baghdad, targeting an American convoy. The explosion resulted 50 people killed, 100 others were injured. Some of them are in critical condition. End of story. That's it. Becomes a repeated information. You tell anyone in the world, Iraq, he would say, yes, a car bomb, 100 people got killed, right? It's just like yesterday, just like the day before, just like 2 years ago. It's the same. It's a continuous violence. Have anyone heard about Al Arabiya? It's a satellite TV station.